Before foreign flags were raised over Zimbabwe, powerful African states ruled this land. They built cities of stone, commanded armies, controlled trade, and defended their freedom. Like this video and follow our page for more untold African history. Today, we tell the story of the Rozvi State, the last great African empire to rule Zimbabwe before colonization. After the fall of the Great Zimbabwe state around the 15th century, power did not disappear. Instead, it shifted. Some people moved north and formed the Mutapa state, while others stayed in the southwest and central plateau. From these communities, especially the Kalanga and Shona-speaking groups, a new military power slowly emerged. This power would become known as the Rozvi State. The word Rozvi comes from a Shona term meaning those who destroy, or those who overwhelm enemies. This was not poetry. It was a warning. The Rozvi State rose in the late 1600s, around 1680, under a powerful leader named Changamire Dambo. Changamire Dambo was originally linked to the Mutapa state, but he broke away and formed his own kingdom in the southwest. He was a brilliant military strategist and political leader. Under him, the Rozvi defeated rival chiefs, took control of former Great Zimbabwe territories, and pushed back Portuguese influence. By the early 1700s, the Rozvi state had become the strongest power in the Zimbabwean plateau. So, how did they rule? The Rozvi state was a centralized kingdom. At the top was the king, called the Changamire. He ruled with the help of military commanders, spirit mediums, and trusted chiefs. Unlike earlier states, the Rozvi placed a strong emphasis on military discipline. Local chiefs governed their villages, but they had to pay tribute, provide soldiers, and remain loyal to the Changamire. Disobedience was punished severely. This system created a powerful sense of unity, order, and strength that held the empire together. The Rozvi were, first and foremost, warriors. Their army was highly organized, well-trained, and fiercely loyal. Their weapons included spears, shields, knobkerries, and bows and arrows. But their real strength was in tactics. They used clever battle formations, surprise attacks, and even psychological warfare to intimidate their enemies. This military strength allowed the Rozvi to defeat rival Shona groups, control vital trade routes, and defeat the Portuguese repeatedly. In fact, European traders feared the Rozvi and described them as unconquerable Africans. The Rozvi economy was just as impressive. It was strong and diverse. Agriculture was the foundation, with crops like sorghum, millet, and maize. Cattle herding was also extremely important. Cattle were a sign of wealth, used for bride price or lobola, and offered in important rituals. Beyond farming, the Rozvi controlled the gold-producing areas once linked to Great Zimbabwe. They traded gold, ivory, and iron tools with Swahili traders and even the Portuguese, but always under strict Rozvi control. They refused to be dominated economically and made sure trade happened on their terms. Like their ancestors of Great Zimbabwe, the Rozvi were master builders. They constructed incredible stone-walled towns and fortified capitals. Important centers like Danangombe, also known as Dlo, as well as Kame and Nalatale, still stand today. These sites showcase incredible dry stone walling techniques, complex designs, and royal enclosures. These structures were not just for defense. They were powerful symbols of authority, spiritual power, and a direct line of continuity from the golden age of Great Zimbabwe. Rozvi society was well-structured and orderly. Daily life for most people revolved around farming villages, with strong family systems and a deep respect for elders. Culture was vibrant. Music and dance were part of everyday life, along with storytelling that passed down history and values. They held ceremonies to celebrate harvests and victories. Craftsmanship also flourished, with skilled artisans producing beautiful pottery and finely crafted iron tools. Community life was built on principles of discipline, respect, and unity, which contributed to the state's stability. Religion was central to every aspect of Rozvi life. They believed in a supreme creator god, known as Mari, and honored ancestral spirits, or Vadzimu, who they believed could influence the living world. Spirit mediums played a major role in society. They advised the king, interpreted natural disasters, and guided military decisions. Sacred places, like the hills of Matonjoni, were respected and protected as places of great spiritual power. The king's rule was therefore not just political. It was spiritual, giving him immense authority. The Rozvi State was deeply connected to the states that came before it. It inherited many traditions from Great Zimbabwe. It broke away from the Mutapa state, but eventually grew so powerful that it surpassed Mutapa as the dominant force in the region. At times, the Rozvi even controlled Mutapa territories and installed their own leaders. This shows that African states were not static or isolated. They were dynamic, constantly interacting, competing, and evolving over centuries. The rise of the Rozvi is a perfect example of this political fluidity. Despite its incredible strength, the Rozvi state began to weaken in the early 1800s. Several factors led to its decline. There were internal leadership struggles that created division and instability. The state's control over long-distance trade began to reduce, weakening its economy. And new groups were migrating into the region, putting pressure on Rozvi borders. The final blow came in the 1830s, with the arrival of Nguni groups fleeing the Mafeking, especially the Ndebele people, under their powerful king Mzilikazi. The Rozvi, already weakened by internal problems, were militarily challenged and politically divided. By the mid-19th century, the Great Rozvi State had collapsed. Soon after, colonial forces would arrive, finding the African societies of the region already weakened by these internal conflicts. The Rozvi State was a warrior empire, a guardian of African independence, and a vital bridge between the era of Great Zimbabwe and the colonial period. Its story proves that for centuries, Africans governed themselves, defended their land, and built advanced civilizations long before outsiders arrived. Like, subscribe, and follow for more untold African history. Next, we explore the Ndebele state and the coming of colonial rule. Thanks for watching.